Thank you, Les Kincorla. Taoiseach, the negative equity generation has fared very poorly under this government. You refuse to make childcare affordable while reducing child benefit. You force them to pay property tax on their debts while claiming it's a tax on wealth. You tax on the double those who've become accidental landlords. And you deny families the right to bid on their own mortgages while selling those mortgages to US-based vulture funds. To date, as you know, the Insolvency Service has processed about 50 cases. Why? Because you gave the banks veto over all proceedings. Now, the result is that over 175,000 mortgages are in arrears. For 3 years now, this government has allowed the banks to run roughshod over these individuals and families. The only thing you have done is set targets for the banks to make offers of sustainable restructures, but you've let the banks define what sustainable means. Now, in advance of the Finance Committee hearings this week, Taoiseach, the banks have submitted their latest figures to the end of the year on these so-called sustainable restructures. The good news is they've hit your targets. The bad news is how they've hit your targets. As of the 1st of January, about 57,000 offers were made. Now, 52,000 of these don't include any financial concession from the banks whatsoever, in spite of the Irish people making €7.5 billion available to the banks to deal with the mortgage crisis. About 18,000 of the offers will actually increase the amount of money that the mortgage holders pay to the banks over the course of the mortgages. About 5,000 of these offers are so-called voluntary surrenders. And Taoiseach, as of the 1st of January, about 22,000 of these so-called offers of sustainable restructures were legal proceedings. Now, we know that that figure will have increased significantly between the 1st of January and today. During the election, I recall Fine Gael stating that it would help the negative equity generation. And instead, you've abandoned them. You've hiked their taxes to pay for the sins of the bankers, while allowing those banks squeeze these people in mortgage arrears for every cent they have. And when they don't have any more, they go into arrears, and you let the banks do as they please. So, Taoiseach,
please, Deputy.
My question is this. Are you satisfied with these targets? Are you satisfied with how the banks have hit these targets? Are you satisfied that 22,000 legal proceedings count as sustainable offers of mortgage restructuring? Thank you.
Thank you. Taoiseach.
No, I'm not happy with the situation where people are still in mortgage distress because of the catastrophic economic situation that applied. And I won't be happy until everybody has had an offer made to them that is workable and that's practical and is not just related to interest-only repayments. The total number of permanent restructures, and that's ones that are working in a sustainable way, has increased to approximately 54,000 different accounts. Term extensions and arrears capitalisations are the dominant permanent restructure type. That comprises about 60% of the total, Deputy Donnelly. But you should note that there's an increase in the number of split mortgages to over 7,100 from 2,500 at the end of August. This includes split mortgages currently on a trial basis, pending the completion of a short period of successful payments. So the targets have been set both by the government, by the central bank, for the banks to achieve. But at the end of the day, it is the relationship between borrower and lender availing of the different suite of opportunities that's out there now to work out a solution to each individual case. I might say that you commented about that we would help those in negative equity. Well, what do you do, Deputy Donnelly, except to strive to make your economy more competitive, more productive and stronger, where there's growth in the economy, where we've managed to pull back the country from an economic abyss. You created 61,000 jobs last year, where interest rates have fallen from 15% to less than 3%, where the NTMA can go back into the international bond markets with a sense of confidence and be in a position to have raised most of their financial requirements for 2015 at this stage. And that helps the opportunity for an increase in house valuations and house property prices again. Clearly it's uneven. Clearly there's pressure for significant numbers of houses to be built in the greater Dublin area and in the bigger cities and so on. And the rise in property values and property prices has not translated, obviously, to all parts of the country. So when you say help those in negative equity, the best answer to that is that you rectify your public finances and get your people working, because that's what stimulates confidence in the economy, growth in the economy, jobs in the economy, and consequently prosperity. Were we to continue as we in the position in which we found the country, we'd actually be paying back another 3.1 billion on the promissory notes today, which would give cause for a variety of different questions here. I might think.
Donnelly, 1 minute remaining.
Thank you, Taoiseach. Taoiseach, bond yields are of no interest to people who are trying to fight to save their house. The problem lies in your answer. You said yourself, of the offers to date, recapitalisation of arrears and term extensions account for 60% of the offers made. Recapitalisation of arrears and term extensions are not sustainable offers to people who have too much debt. Both of those so-called solutions increase the total payments made over the lifetime of a mortgage. Taoiseach, you asked, what do you do besides create jobs? It's great that the job figure is rising. What do you do for people who are in mortgage arrears? I'll tell you what this government needs to do. It needs to focus not just on the quantity of offers made, it needs to focus on the quality of those offers and consistency of offers across lenders. Taoiseach, last week in the Finance Committee, we met with the organisation supporting the mortgage holders. Now, here's their words. These are the people on the ground helping the mortgage holders. Targets have proved counterproductive because the focus is on the target and therefore not on the individual. Over 3,000 people contacted FLAC last year in utter frustration at the lack of professionalism in how they were being dealt with. The helpline handled 11,000 calls, one half made after people had already received a final offer, and 2/3 were sale or repossession. That was the only offer on the table. We have a crazy situation whereby it is alleged that repossessions take place only as a last resort, but there is no front-end supervision or monitoring and no rules to ensure that that is the case.
Thank you,
there is no consistency. It's like the Gaza Strip. Individual lenders can do anything. The Central Bank confirmed that it does not have the power to compel lenders to offer specific products. And Taoiseach, the final quote is extremely relevant. Quote, "The only language these guys understand is legislation. The only thing that is going to work is firm, strict, unambiguous and crystal clear legislation."
Thank you, Deputy.
So, Taoiseach, my question is this. In light of the overwhelming evidence for how beneficial creating a sustainable set of mandated solutions will be, in light of how helpful that would be for tens or hundreds of thousands of men and women all over the country, to ensure consistency, quality and fairness, will you look at introducing legislation that mandates a single set of solutions that the mortgage holders can avail of? Thank you.
Thank you. Final reply, Minister.
Yeah, but that's a one-size-fits-all, Deputy Donnelly, and that doesn't work, because everybody's circumstance is different. Everybody's circumstance is different. And it's when you sit down with the people who are involved here that you suddenly discover that everybody's circumstance is actually very different. So the engagement between the consumers and the lenders, which led to 51,188 permanent mortgage restructures, an increase of 6,011 accounts in the last quarter of 2013. Do you accept that they were clear, that they were consistent, that they were flexible, because they arrived at a solution? So you're not happy with the fact that almost 51,000 permanent mortgage restructures were arrived at between people who borrowed and lenders who lent. You don't believe that that's the way things should go. So you want a situation where one size assumes to fit everybody, which clearly is not the case. And if that's what you suggest, then you're very much out of touch. The legislation that you refer to is crystal clear. The targets have been set. The targets are being achieved. sustainable solutions are for the men and women who have borrowed money to live in their houses, provide their houses, are happy to accept and happy to deal with the lender in the first instance. There's been a significant rise in the split mortgages, Deputy Donnelly, 2,500 back in August to 6,200 by the end of December. That's 4,000 who have accepted and agreed with the lender a split mortgage situation. The number of mortgage accounts in arrears of greater than 90 days has fallen from 81,000 to 79,000, down 2,000. Not as much as we would like, but it's there. These are facts. They're crystal clear. They arrive because of the conclusions reached between the borrower and the lender. Temporary restructures continue to fall as well. The central bank published their data, their quarterly mortgage arrears statistics, as opposed to the Department of Finance monthly figures, and they show a welcome decline in all arrears, both for primary dwelling houses and for buy-to-lets. You may not want to accept those facts, but they are facts. And the most difficult to accept, Deputy Donnelly, are those who are longer in arrears. So I welcome the fact that the decline in the number of primary home mortgages, which are more than 90 days in arrears, is the first time since 2009 that it's actually begun to fall when central banks started to publish this data. So there is a solution to everybody's individual problem here, Deputy Donnelly. They are not all the same. Circumstances of geography, of family circumstances, of debt, of property with debt, or whatever else, are all different. When there's a solution to every one of them, but they require people sitting down, borrowers and lenders, so that a solution can be worked out. So the suite of opportunities that are laid out there now, with all of the opportunities that exist there, can result in so many more people arriving at a solution. And there are people out there who do not want to engage with the lenders in the first place, and that only makes the situation worse. Because if there's a solution to be found, it takes two to sit down and work out that solution. And insofar as government and the facilities that are available to government, with the central bank and the banks, the Finance Committee can help in this, of course, is to work out sustainable solutions for everybody, so that as the economy improves and negative equity declines, that those people who have had this distress on them for quite a long time can have it removed and go back into the economy and play their part as the country develops for the future.
That concludes leaders' questions.